Everyone, welcome to the video. Today I'm going to give you some insight into how I went from riding 6 miles a day to doing a 131 mile ride, all within the space of a year. So I'm going to go back to 2019 when I was training a lot in the gym. I was doing a lot of compound moves, a lot of big weights and calisthenics moves. And then lockdown happened and I transitioned into cycling pretty much full time. I stopped the gym completely and jumped on the bike. And that's when it all changed and I started riding more and more, started riding further, and I got really into it. Now, I've learned a lot of stuff on the way about cycling and about my body. And what I'm going to do is go through the timeline from 2019 all the way to the present day. And at the end of this video, I'm going to explain the changes that happened to me physically and mentally and how that felt and kind of what to kind of expect in a way. And I'm also gonna look at some points, my most valuable points on that journey of that year, going from, let's say, a very average cyclist at best to, riding fairly long rides and pushing myself quite hard. So let's jump straight into it. Let's go back to 2019. So back in 2019, I was commuting to work. That was 6 miles each way. So I was doing around 12 miles a day. I wouldn't necessarily ride every day. It was quite an easy ride. It's very flat. It's nothing major at all. Very stop-start, obviously, with the traffic lights. Now, that was all on a specialized hybrid bike, which in hindsight was not the best bike to do it on. If you are commuting and you've got a hybrid bike, there's nothing bad about them, but on the road bike was much better when I eventually changed. More on that later. And I was also in the gym. Now, I would say I was more focused on the gym than I was riding. In fact, I would definitely say that. Initially, I was doing a lot of big compound moves, a lot of heavy weights, and then I moved on to sort of calisthenics and body weight movements. Now, some stats for all the gym nerds: bench was around 125 kilograms, squat was around 135 kilograms, deadlift was, I'm not too sure to be honest, from memory, 140 odd kilos, maybe a little bit less actually. And then I moved on to things like muscle ups. And they were a key focus for a long time, trying to do muscle ups. Managed to do, I think it was about 5 muscle ups in a row. Handstands, frog into handstand, I think it's called. Front levers, all those sort of moves, which were really, really good for the core. So that's the sort of level I was at. And then I was just riding for my cardio. Now, all the time I was doing that, I was not really doing any long rides. On the odd occasion, I would go and do a 20 mile ride or a 30 mile ride. But that was a big push for me. And if I was doing that, I would have really had to consider it. So that's the base from 2019, and I'm going to bring you up to the present day. So one of the big turning points was doing a charity ride to Bristol, and that was with my company, and that is called the Tour Dare Ride, and we do it every year. That is 140 miles over 2 days. Now, this was a big ride for me and it was hard. I'd done this on my hybrid bike as well. This thing weighed a ton. It was a Specialized Series aluminium frame, but to be honest, it wasn't that good. Bought it for £250 off Gumtree, but it got me to Bristol, and that ride was so rewarding. I really, really enjoyed that ride, riding in a group, and I think it kind of sparked something inside of me. I realised that this is a sport you can do individually, and it's a sport you can do in a big group, and it can be very rewarding in many different ways, which is kind of what I'd been looking for, transitioning away from football, team sports, which I was heavily involved with when I was younger. So I realised in that moment, this could be a great thing. So when I got back from Bristol, literally, I think it was 5 days after that, I bought my first road bike, and that was the Giant Defy Advance 1, and that is the bike that I ride today. Although I have been on eBay a lot looking to buy a Specialized Venge, but we can all dream. But that was a bike I got, and it was really good. Well, it is still really good, and it's not let me down to this day. To be honest, I didn't know too much what I was buying or what was good. I love to research, so I spent some time researching, like late into the nights, and then I saw this one pop up. I just wanted one real quick, so I just got this. It cost me £850. So it was a 2016 model, so it was a few years old when I bought it. It was basically new. The guy that I bought it off just used it on the turbo trainer, and he only used it in the good weather. So that's what you want if you're buying a used bike. So then that completely changed the whole riding experience, really. Anyone that's gone from, riding a gravel bike or a mountain bike or a hybrid bike onto a road bike, it's completely different. All of a sudden your mileage goes up, you're much more efficient. I found it much more enjoyable because I could see much more of the countryside. I could go and plan longer rides. So this was the start of me sort of getting into cycling more. I knew from that point, I think, that I was going to push it. I hadn't necessarily set any goals, but I could kind of tell within myself that this was kind of something that I was going to pick up and I was going to move forward with it. Now at this point, I had a bit of a mental battle between gym or cycling, because in my mind, it kind of didn't work hand in hand. I couldn't go to the gym and be doing big compound moves, squats, deadlifts, bench, and then be going and doing 50-mile rides at the weekend the next day after the gym session. So I really did feel like it was kind of counterintuitive to be heavily focused on one. And I think that's where I saw a natural change, and I moved away from the bigger compound moves. Whether that's right or wrong, it's just how I felt at the time, and I was listening to my body. I wanted to be on the bike more, so I kind of slowed it down at the gym. Some context, I was going to the gym doing these workouts 3-4 times a week, so to fit long rides in and around that was quite hard. So that was one of the changes that I experienced. And then from then, I moved on to more of the calisthenics moves, which were lighter for your core, which obviously having a good strong core is good for cycling as well. It all started to work out, and then it was kind of a natural change really. And I was doing them side by side. I would say I was about 50-50 at this point. And this was probably coming into 2020. Towards the winter in 2020, I was more in the gym. But coming into the summer of 2020, I really started to jump on the bike. And it's great here in London on the bike. It's a great way to get around. The more time I spent on the bike, the more I wanted to be out in the good weather. Then we had coronavirus in March 2020 here in the UK. We went into a full-scale lockdown, and the only time you were allowed out was for your essentials, your shopping, or for your exercise. Now this just changed it in an instant. Obviously all the gyms were shut, so in an instant the only thing I could do was go and ride. Now I started going for rides in the morning, 10-15 miles or so, which was good. Psychologically and mentally, you're in your house more, and the only time you can truly get out in the countryside and get some air was on the bike. So it was only natural to kind of say, well, I'm going to go for a longer ride. We were coming into summer as well, so I just hopped on the bike. This was good for many reasons. Number one, it's good for my physical, and I really started to get physically fit, like healthy. It was different before when I was training in the gym. I was very strong, let's say, or kind of strong. But that changed into being, like, my endurance went through the roof, my stamina went through the roof. I've never been as fit as I've been in the peak of my riding last summer, which is crazy really, considering it's my 30th birthday this summer. So in these 30 years, I'd say this is the fittest I've ever been, which is interesting because I had a lot of years playing football. Riding, I had a real different appreciation for endurance and real stamina and fitness. And number two, it was really good for my mental health. Now, being inside, it's hard, right? A lot of people have gone through a lot of tough times, and a lot of that comes from just not being able to go out. Yeah, having that outlet and being able to go out was very, very good for me. I'm someone that if I'm not training and I'm not feeling good physically, it starts to affect my mental and all aspects of my life. So the fact that I could go out and ride for a few hours every single day, to me, I'm just grateful that happened, and I did transition into cycling. So yeah, and I think it's good to be open and honest about those things and talk about the mental health, and that it is a struggle for a lot of people, and cycling can have such a good impact on that. If you don't go out and you don't get into a green area, you don't get some fresh air, you don't go for a stroll in the park, it can have a massive impact. And I'll be honest, I've been a hypocrite. There's been weeks or a few weeks here and there where I haven't gone out and I start to feel bad, but I have to remind myself, that going out will be good. And it's that procrastination phase that I have to try and get over. And once I'm out on the bike and I've done it, then it's wonderful. I come back, I feel rejuvenated, and I feel great. So yeah, that was a sort of transition. It was a forced transition from lockdown here in the UK, but that just threw me straight into the bike world. And from there, different gear that I was buying, different shoes that I was trying, different tires that I was buying. I was trying different routes. I was exploring different roads. I was going further and further. I was seeing parts of London surroundings that I'd never seen before. So all of this was going on, and I was having a great time riding. And you can imagine how big an outlet that actually was in a time when we were locked down. So if you're thinking about riding, or you're watching this thinking, shall I ride? Is it going to be good? Then my answer is yes, in many different ways. Hopefully I've explained a couple there. Now I'm going to jump back a little bit to late 2019, it was actually, I think. And that is when I bought an old vintage road bike. It's a 1987 vintage rally road bike. Now the reason I bought this bike was actually to learn about mechanics. My dad was a mechanic, so he helped me fix it up. It was a great experience, and anyone that's into bikes, I would advise doing this. The bike cost me £75. In total, I spent around £300, but £100 of that was the wheels. I could have got cheaper wheels. I learned a lot about bikes. I read a lot about bikes, looked on Sheldon Brown's website. If you know Sheldon Brown, then you know. If you don't, he was one of the best bike mechanics. From there, I learned a lot, and that helps you understand your machine. And when you understand your machine, your bike, you can use it more efficiently. And two, it saved me a lot of money going to the bike shop every time I needed something done. So I wanted to drop that in and just let you know that that was something really, really good that I've done, and that has helped me a lot going forward all the way up until the present day. So I think you can officially say that I caught the bug, and then the lockdown started to ease and we were allowed to ride in groups. And it was at that point I started riding with the Black Cyclist Network, a cycle club here in London. Now that just pushed everything to the next level, because you're around people that understand cycling much better than you do, have ridden for many, many years. They know a lot about what they're talking about. And when you surround yourself with people like that, there's only one way you can go, and that is forward with them. I got into the data side of it a bit more, analysing the data from my rides, tracking my fitness more. I still need to get a power meter. That one is going to arrive this year, hopefully, if all goes well. But my point is, I had a great time riding with these other people, and that spurred me on even more. So by now I'd well and truly got the bug. So I was having a great time, and it was a good moment last summer for me cycling. I really love that. So if anyone's thinking about joining a cycling club, I would say that find the cycling club for you, or find a few people around you. It doesn't have to be a lot of people, 3 or 4 people that you can ride with, talk about riding with. It's good, a little bit of friendly competition as well. It helps push you forward. So that was the summer. I kind of continued like that. I was pushing the miles. As I said, my longest ride was 131 miles, and that was in the Surrey Hills as well. I think the elevation on that was 9,000 feet, I think it was. And that was a big old ride, and I felt good on that ride as well. So that was my peak, or the best ride that I'd done. To be honest, I think I was enjoying it so much, and I started to feel maybe a little bit fatigued for a lot of long rides. You do really need to appreciate your recovery times, which also comes into your well-being and what you eat and everything like that as well, to help you recover. But yeah, I really enjoyed it, and I was going some in the summer. Then in the winter, it started to slow down a little bit. I got the turbo trainer and a little outside space, which I call the gazebo house, which is where I do my turbo sessions. But it is hard in the winter, and I've released a video a few weeks ago about I made a mistake, and that was thinking that I could ride the same amount in the winter as I did in the summer, and it's just not feasible. You can't go and do a 4-hour turbo ride every weekend. It's just not the same. So next year I will learn from that, and I will set my goals accordingly. So that brings us up to the present day, and I want to talk about the changes on my body physically and the changes mentally. Hopefully you guys and girls can relate or pick something up in this process and know that it's normal, or know kind of what to expect. So first I want to talk about weight, because it's something that is spoken about a lot in cycling, that you need to be lighter because you're going to be more efficient, it's easier to ride uphill. Now, focusing on weight is not the best way to go. Now, I was focusing on weight, and let's be honest, I was focusing on losing weight. And from going from the gym to riding loads, I was able to lose a fair amount of weight. I went from around 83 kilos down to about 77 in my lowest point in the summer. So it's quite a big change. I'm 5'9", 10, so it gives you a better indication. And I think I put too much emphasis on the weight. What I needed to look at was power to weight, which everyone should be looking at in my opinion. Losing weight doesn't do anything if you're losing all your power as well, because in the long run, you're just going to be lighter. You're not going to be any faster because you'll lose your power alongside that. So that's probably the biggest change, is with weight. And I know cycling is used as a tool to lose weight. So quite often you can get caught in that sort of cycle of, how am I losing weight? Am I getting faster? Am I getting better at riding uphill? When actually, think of your overall fitness. Don't just think that losing weight and your weight is the best way to measure it. Because from my experience, I would say that It's not. Now, all the time I was training in the gym, I would say that I was fit and I was healthy. It's hard to explain because you need to kind of experience it. But the fitness that I had in the peak of summer 2020 was the best fitness that I'd had. I mean, I felt good. I could get up in the morning. I had loads of energy. I could run around all day. I could go for a 50-mile ride, a 100-mile ride. And it wasn't too hard. And it makes you kind of uplifted in a way. So I had fitness to that level, whereas before when I was training weights, it was very different. You know, you'd go, you would feel strong, but your muscles would feel tired. I didn't feel like I could go for a 50-mile ride, for example. But I had a real good level of fitness. I felt like I could go and run, for example. I just felt good on the whole. And I think that is something that cycling can give you. If you keep pumping the miles, your fitness just goes up and up and up, and it kind of creeps up on you until you're at a really, really good level. If you're one of those people on that journey to real good fitness, real good stamina, real good endurance, enjoy it, because you're going to arrive at a place that's really, really good, and I'm sure you will love it. Now, diet isn't something I go into a lot because I could make loads and loads of videos on it, to be honest. But what I will say is you need to focus on your diet if you want any of this progression to last and you want it to happen quickly and effectively. You need to be fueling right for your bodies. This ties back in to losing weight because a lot of people use cycling as a tool, so they might eat less because they want to be in a calorie deficit. So what ends up happening is you don't actually have enough fuel for your ride. So you're actually going to become fatigued, and this isn't the best way. Yes, you might lose weight, but again, you're going to lose power and it's not sustainable. So you really do need to think about diet when you're making a big transition. And that's not something that I really approached. When we went into lockdown, I didn't suddenly think, oh, you know what? Because I'm doing all this riding, I really need to change my diet. But it's something that does play a massive part. And as you ride further, how you fuel on the bike, how you fuel for your rides the day before and after your ride are all very, very important. So do take that into account. Next up, mental health. Now, I touched upon this earlier, and I do want to speak about it again because it is a massive thing for me. It really, really is a massive thing. And you'll hear a lot of people who cycle talk about mental health and how it affects your mental health. People say things like spiraling out of control. When I really started pumping the miles, it's the reverse of that spiral. You start to feel really good. You start to eat good because you're riding further. Then you start to lose weight and gain fitness, gain endurance. And you just keep pushing. You think, how high can I get on this spiral? How fit can I get? And for me personally, my mental health is in line with that spiral. If I'm down here and I haven't done anything in a few weeks, like this winter, I haven't done as much as I did in the summer, I don't feel as good. It's a simple sort of balance for me. And I know as we come into summer and I ride more, I know that I will start to feel better. And it's not just feeling better, it is genuinely being more productive. It's getting up early in the morning because I want to just start the day fresh and I feel like I've got loads of energy. It's editing videos late into the evening. It is thinking about these videos. It's going on these rides and producing these videos, for example. It's how I feel at work. It's how I feel in conversations with my family. It's how I feel in conversations with my partner and my housemate. There you go, you know, it does really affect all aspects of your life, of my life. Not saying that's the case for everyone, but for me, it really, really does have a big impact. So there you go, fine people. That is my journey from 2019 to the present day. Some learnings along the way. I hope there was some good information in there that helped you if you are on that journey, or maybe you just found it interesting. Any questions, leave them in a comment below and I will get back to you. So thank you for watching. If you made it this far, do subscribe and turn on the notifications bell to see more videos like this and more cycling related content. So until the next one, self-love and safe riding.